While many folks agree being empathetic is a great idea, some don't think it helps you be successful in business. But it's actually a necessity. To effectively navigate change, leaders must quickly build strong relationships with people, whether they're employees or customers. That's the key to better collaboration and engagement. Hi, I'm Maria Ross, brand strategist, TEDx speaker, and author of The Empathy Edge, Harnessing the Value of Compassion as an Engine for Success. And in this course, we're going to make implementing and practicing empathy straightforward and simple. We'll go over ways to strengthen your own empathy so you can create a culture where people are seen, heard, and valued, where your organization thrives. So get ready to redefine success to be more empathetic and more human. And just watch how much potential you unleash. Let's get started. Have you ever worked for a toxic leader or culture? Did your boss constantly reject new ideas, talk over you, or pit colleagues against each other? If you're like me, you probably didn't do your best work there. And that's the price leaders can pay when they don't embrace empathy. But doing so can actually improve employee performance and set your company apart. So let's talk about 4 ways empathy can benefit your business. First up, empathy spurs innovation and productivity, which makes sense. If your people feel seen, heard, and valued, they're free from fear or drama and can do their best creative work. Google, one of the most technology skills-driven companies on the planet, found that their most innovative products came not from teams of the best technologists on paper, but those teams where empathy, collaboration, and communication were strongest. Such teams actually get work done and into the market. They take risks, spend less time protecting themselves, and more time collaborating. When they feel safe enough to innovate, watch out. They will be unstoppable. Also, empathy boosts employee engagement. This matters because disengagement leads to more absenteeism, lost productivity, errors, and turnover. I love working long hours and feeling disrespected and misunderstood, said no high performer ever. Many employees feel more highly engaged in an empathetic, responsive environment. Employees view many lifestyle benefits, such as paid family leave and flexible work hours, as empathetic. Treat them right, give them a voice, and watch what happens. Another benefit of an empathetic culture, you'll attract top talent before your competitors do. Today's in-demand talent expects a new type of culture based on respect, empathy, and diversity. They want a second family, and they're smart enough to realize they're spending the bulk of their time at work, so it better be a place where they feel like they belong. Studies show that incoming talent generations are the most culturally diverse in the workforce, and seek out employers who can effectively harness diverse viewpoints. Enter empathy. Your ability to attract and retain top talent has less to do with the free lunches and more to do with how well you understand people. Put people first and the profits will follow. Which brings me to the fact that empathy boosts your bottom line. Many CEOs now link empathy to financial performance, and for good reason. Happy employees mean happy customers. Years ago, Ryanair Airlines, a discount airline in Europe, implemented a series of empathetic customer service policies to take the friction out of flying. Guess what happened? The following year, they saw profit increase 43%. And REI, the American Retail and Outdoor Recreation Services Co-op, has seen nothing but climbing membership and revenue ever since making the tough decision to close on Black Friday, the biggest shopping day of the year, and encourage employees and customers to get outside and enjoy the outdoors. Want free word-of-mouth advertising? Marketing expert Jay Baer writes that empathy is a talk trigger. Companies that act with empathy toward employees, customers, and community are unfortunately too rare, so those experiences stand out and get people talking. You can see that it's in your best interest to embrace empathetic leadership to create a thriving culture and customer experience. So be the boss everyone wants to work for. It's good for your own success and your company's bottom line. First, a tale of 2 customer service calls. 1. I heard something I never thought I'd hear from a cable company representative. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about that charge. I would have been so shocked to find something like that on my bill too. Let's get that removed. What? You understand me? You can help me? 2. I ordered a clothing item for my brother's wedding from a hot new online fashion store that got lots of great press. The item didn't arrive in time for my trip. After 2 ignored emails, I finally called customer service. Here are the litany of excuses I heard. You filled out the form wrong. We can't respond to every email because we're just handling so many orders and other customers right now. We're just growing so fast. I loved their product, but refused to shop with them again, and I'm telling everyone I know. Want to dominate your market? You need to be in lockstep with customers to anticipate needs and create winning offerings. Let's explore 4 ways that empathy engages your customers to turn them into true brand evangelists. First, empathy aligns you with your customers' needs to create products and services your customers can't resist and that truly add value to their lives. Go beyond demographics. Get to know them intimately. What are their goals, fears, aspirations, or values? Build ideal customer profiles that help you get to know your customers better. Apple's Steve Jobs, while not having a reputation as the most empathetic employer, was rabid about understanding customers. He understood his users' aspirations so well, he created products they didn't even know to ask for, but that immediately helped them reach their goals and be the people they wanted to be. Another benefit of empathy: no one likes to be sold to, so empathy lets your customers feel heard. Empathy is the #1 trait of successful salespeople, mostly because this allows them to have a more connective conversation and less of a one-way sales pitch. According to a USC study, the top-ranked strategies of successful salespeople include getting customers to emotionally connect with you, followed by tailoring your sales pitch to the customer's needs, and then asking questions. All hallmarks of communicating with empathy in the moment. Plus, when you show genuine empathy for your employees and community, customers feel good about spending money with you. Today's savvy consumers care more about your values than previous generations, and their use of technology and social media means you can't hide. Yes, they view brands involved in social and environmental good as empathetic. In a 2019 survey done by DoSomethingStrategic.org, 58% of Gen Z respondents said a brand's support for a cause that's important to them would positively impact them to make a purchase. When asked again in February 2021, that number shot up. Now 82% say the same. It's no longer solely about the quality of your product and service. It's about how you treat people inside and outside of your company. And they want to know if you're doing exactly what you say you are. And empathy turns happy customers into brand evangelists. When you have an amazing customer experience, one where the company totally gets you and adapts to your needs, it stands out. You tell everyone you know, and when a company fails to do so, you also share that with the world. Traveling with my son on his 3rd birthday, the crew at Southwest Airlines surprised us with a makeshift birthday cake made of cups, napkins, and pretzel bags. They got inside my head as a frazzled mom and delighted us. When brands genuinely go that extra mile, as many have during the pandemic, customers take notice and tell their friends or complete strangers online. Whether you sell B2C or B2B, your customers are demanding that you embrace a new paradigm of brand leadership, or they won't spend money with you. To win over buyers in the modern marketplace and watch revenues grow, you must now ensure all your stakeholders are seen, heard, and valued. My 7-year-old son can throw an epic temper tantrum, screaming, stomping, tears of both fury and sadness. When he's in that zone, he's only thinking about himself. Why he's right, how he's been mistreated. We can try to calmly show reason or compromise or even remind him of the rules. But in that red zone, he has no desire to understand, only to be heard. In that state, he's not interested in empathizing with our point of view. I bet you know a few leaders that remind you of, right? When you're in that zone, focused only on your own emotions and impulses, It's hard to see reason. There's no room for taking on another person's point of view. That's because the limbic system takes over our frontal lobe in this type of situation. The limbic system controls our emotions and memories, while the frontal lobe helps us think before we act. It helps us problem solve. This is why it's so important to practice presence. If you feel constantly scattered and preoccupied, you'll have no capacity to consider others' perspectives or think clearly. You'll constantly be defensive, reactive, which is the exact opposite of empathy. You'll be too caught up in your own stuff to listen to anyone else. Successful leaders everywhere swear by a mindfulness practice. Mindfulness leads to awareness of the present moment, so you can think more clearly and collaborate more effectively. Now you're better able to respond without defensiveness or reactivity. You can feel less threatened and tap into your own confidence to hear their other perspectives and find commonalities. But don't panic. Mindfulness doesn't have to be all woo-woo or require a month at a mountaintop ashram. If you're a high performer, it doesn't have to slow you down, but goes a long way to helping you be more empathetic. Start small. Mindfulness experts agree that even 5 minutes a day is a great start. And whatever that means to you, walk, stretch, practice deep belly breathing, enjoy a coffee in silence without a screen in front of you, knit, exercise, use a meditation app, or yes, do yoga. Give yourself space to think before you start your day. Many leaders ask everyone to take a few deep breaths before they get down to business in a meeting. The key is to make it a daily habit, or you'll spend too much time negotiating with yourself when things get busy. Just be consistent and pick something you can stick with. Remember, just 5 minutes to start. Once you see the results in how you handle conflict or see another's perspective and act with compassion, those results will speak for themselves. So what can you commit to start trying tomorrow? Make sure you put it in your calendar and hold that time sacred. See if it doesn't change the way you show up and interact with others. Don't believe me? Then do what I did once to develop a better habit of daily teeth flossing. I committed to doing it every day just to prove my dentist wrong. Over time, I saw the results and now cannot go to bed without flossing. So prove me wrong. Develop a daily mindfulness practice for at least 2 months and let me know how it goes. Did you know that curiosity is a key trait of highly empathic people? If you have more questions about that, good for you. You're on the road to being an empathetic leader. But how to master that art without interrogating people? Being genuinely curious about someone else, what beliefs they hold, and how they see a situation are the keys to understanding others. Whether that's trying to better understand how to motivate your own employees or digging deep into your customers' goals, it all starts with shushing yourself first and asking more questions. And here's the kicker: actively listening to the response. Too often, we go into situations with our own beliefs and biases. But you get the best innovation out of your people when you adopt more humility and get curious instead of making assumptions. When you enter into tough conversations, like a less than stellar performance review or a heated negotiation, instead of going in with, "Here's why I'm right and you're wrong," force yourself to ask questions first. Why do you see things that way? What is your definition of success? How do you think work is going right now? When you do this, you can assess their true motivations and also find opportunities for common ground. They can tell you how they see things without making you guess. You can also find out personal contexts that are impacting what the other person thinks and feels. Maybe they have an aging parent at home and are under a lot of stress. Maybe they almost lost a job in the past by pursuing a similar course of action, and they're resistant because they're afraid. Or you might find that maybe you both don't understand the goal. In all of these cases, getting curious will help you uncover the deeper intentions. And then there's the hard work of actually listening to the answer and taking that in. Not just so you can get to what you want to say next, but so you can respond. A great strategy the next time you're in a tough conversation or debate: try this 2-step process. Step 1, ask, "Tell me more." Those 3 magic words can get people talking, even if you don't agree. Tell me more. Asks without being interrogative, makes them feel heard, lowers defenses and tension, and enables you to get to what's really going on for them. In fact, ask it a few times so you could get them talking more. Step 2, reflect back. Now, before you launch into all the flaws in that person's response, take the time to reflect back what they said to you without judgment or opinion. So what I hear you saying, this ensures you heard them correctly and also ensures they feel heard. They can either respond with a yes or correct your perception of what they said. All goodness. Training yourself to get curious and actively listen will help you be more responsive and less reactive as a leader. Next time you're in a tough conversation, stop and try this little 2-step strategy and see what happens. Great news! Binging on Netflix is not just a time waster. It may actually make you a more empathetic leader. See, empathy invites you to walk in other people's shoes, but since it's not possible or advisable to follow your employees home every night or to visit all of your thousands of global customers, get a little creative and explore with your imagination. Turns out consuming stories, books, films, art, music, or documentaries can help you flex your empathy muscle. They can offer us diverse viewpoints, challenge our assumptions, and literally give us a peek into someone else's life. Stories humanize us. And when we hear stories, especially made by or about people who are very different from us, ethnically, socially, or economically, we get to know them as human beings. For example, we might gloss over hearing about tens of thousands of war refugees, but we're emotionally pulled in when we learn about Yala, a single mother and her 2 young children as they fight to stay alive and find food and shelter. You'll be working with diverse teams, people with various backgrounds, aspirations, and perspectives that are nothing like your own. And that's a good thing. Diversity of thought leads to better business decisions. But the key to motivating them and unlocking their highest potential is to understand where they're coming from. So train yourself to expand your thinking and get comfortable with imagining what things are like for someone else. What might they be thinking and feeling? What would you think or feel in that situation? Read historical nonfiction, biographies, or fictional stories from authors or about characters who are nothing like you. Watch documentaries about other countries you've never been to. Immerse yourself in the food, art, music, or history of another culture. An interesting little fact. I was a professional child actress, and I still act in independent theater and film from time to time. No, you haven't likely seen me in anything. I believe theater and film offers us no better playground for empathy. In that theater, you're immersed in the experiences and emotions of others in the moment, and it can transform you. Characters are often in situations you've never experienced or come from backgrounds you barely understand. If live theater is not your thing, opt for narrative films or documentaries. Skip the flighty comedy every once in a while and check out a genre you don't normally turn to on a Saturday night. You can even go to the park or the mall and just observe people. Come up with their story. Try to imagine how they're feeling, what they may be going through. Once you practice that skill in a safe environment, you can more easily do it when engaging with your colleagues in real life. The more you practice learning about other perspectives through story, music, or art, the more you can easily do this in the moment and on the job. Empathy is not just about getting others to share their point of view with you. Proactively seek out opportunities to learn on your own. So grab your popcorn and remote or snuggle up in a warm blanket with a good read and start exploring with your imagination. True or false? Empathetic leaders are weak and indecisive. Totally false! Yet this stereotype still persists as an excuse to be a tyrant at work. Remember, empathy is not about being nice or caving into crazy demands. Actually, it takes a lot of self-confidence to objectively consider another person's perspective without getting defensive. Ever work with a bully? Then you know that bullies are almost always masking their own insecurity and fear. Continuously cultivating your confidence is vital for being an empathetic leader. While there's no one solution that works for everyone, here are 4 tactics that may help you shore up your confidence. Once your foundation is strong, you can more openly see someone else's point of view as input rather than a threat, and treat them with respect, even though you're making really tough decisions. First, you can't develop confidence until you really see how far you've come. So set goals and track your progress. Write them down. You can't always objectively see what you've achieved unless it's right in front of you. And most importantly, celebrate your milestones along the way to keep your confidence high. Don't wait until the end of the journey. If I had waited until I actually finished writing my entire book to celebrate, I would have lost momentum a long time before it was done. Instead, I kept confidence high by treating myself after every chapter was complete. Another great way to bolster your confidence: ask your colleagues or direct reports for feedback on how you work, whether that's a formal evaluation or just a casual check-in. Now, you might be afraid people will just point out your flaws. Perhaps, but it's more likely others are better at highlighting your talents than you are. We're usually our own worst critics. You can also ask a peer outside of your company to be an accountability partner, or form a small coaching group that acts as sort of a board of directors for each other. This way, you can get truly unbiased feedback when your own self-doubt creeps in. Don't be afraid. Empathetic leaders embrace feedback as a gift. Remember, ego kills empathy. Seeking out feedback keeps you improving, innovating, and growing as a leader. Now let's talk about the easiest confidence booster. Keep a praise file. Tuck away all those meaningful notes of gratitude and big wins so you can revisit them when your confidence is flagging. I have one on my email and one in my actual file drawer. And yes, my paper file includes my college scholarship letter. Sometimes you have to dig way back, so do whatever works. And finally, rock out. Play songs from high points in your life, like when you won that big award or took that epic road trip. This can help you stand taller and muster more energy because it brings you back to a time of extreme happiness and confidence. No harm in trying this if it works for you. So dig out those 80s rock anthems or Beyoncé tunes before your next team meeting. Without a healthy store of self-confidence, it becomes much harder to be present, listen, and practice curiosity. When we're so busy doubting ourselves or fretting over negative judgments, there's no energy left to empathize with other people without defensiveness. So boost your confidence often and notice how much better you'll be at collaborating with others. Have you ever had a horrific flight experience? Cramped seats, rude service, zero communication about flight delays? I cannot be the only one. In those frustrating moments, I wish the airline CEO was required to fly economy class in disguise a few times a year, just so they knew what was going on. Or have you ever cursed at an e-commerce site? Like, why are you making it so hard to give you my money? Complicated interface, terrible search functionality, or a payment system that keeps timing out, forcing you to start the transaction again and again. It's like, does your manager know how hard it is for us to buy from you? Experiential journalists go undercover in disguise to report on a story. By walking in someone else's shoes, seeing exactly how they experience something, they get a unique perspective. Leaders need to do this too. Make it a habit to get in the trenches alongside employees or experience your own product or service as a regular customer. It can be eye-opening. You'll see what employees face every day, what heroic lengths they go to in order to delight customers, and what barriers you need to remove to make customers happy, all helping you make smart improvement decisions. Think you can merely outsource this to customer support or secret shoppers? Sure, if you want to scale, but it's important for you to get in the trenches every now and again so you never lose touch with your team and customers. A customer-centric organization requires this kind of empathy. Otherwise, you'll never be able to remove obstacles and continuously innovate. Apple's Steve Jobs pored over customer emails himself to identify patterns. He refused to hold himself above his users or believe he was too good to spend time reading emails. Instead, he chose to screen individual user feedback himself. He used that feedback to deeply understand their goals and aspirations and his findings guided product and business strategy. When you get too comfortable connecting with the same people every day, you create an echo chamber. But getting out there and hearing from others will open your eyes a little wider, expand empathy, and inspire you to innovate in ways you may never have thought of before. Here are some ways you can walk in someone else's shoes and tap into your inner experiential journalist. Take a day each quarter to work the customer support phones or the front desk. Do you offer an experience like a hotel stay, e-commerce site, or an online onboarding process? Go through it yourself, anonymously. Attend a sales call to hear directly from prospects. And bonus, learn what your reps need to do their jobs better. Visit a customer to see how they actually use your products on a daily basis. Encourage your team to get in the trenches with each other for better understanding. Have people swap jobs for a day if you're able to do this. Ask your marketing manager to attend a sales call. Ask product engineering to take support calls. Take on your office manager's task list to gain a better appreciation of their world. Just don't mess up the company holiday party. Getting in the trenches keeps you connected, curious, and humble. As a leader, understanding your customers and employees better is never a waste of time. Here's what usually happens when two people disagree. Say you're arguing with someone about a budget decision or a new strategy. Here's why I'm right and you're wrong. No, here's why I'm right and you're wrong. Where can you even go from there? Look, friction is good. Diversity of thought is what helps us make better business decisions and innovate. If we all thought and felt the same way, we'd run out of ideas. Finding common ground, places where your interests both align, ensures you solve problems and move forward. It's not about compromise per se, because that always makes it sound like neither party gets what they want. It's about discovering where you both really want the same things. So how can you find common ground? Here are 4 ways you can practice. First, focus on areas where you both agree, however small. Say them out loud, even if it might seem painfully obvious. Look, we both want to make our numbers this quarter, don't we? We both want to make sure this customer comes back. Or even, we both want to keep our jobs and not get fired, yes? Doing this out loud changes the tenor of the conversation. Now, instead of being on opposite sides of the table, you're sitting on the same side, looking forward together, rather than facing off with each other. When you both remind yourselves of the shared goal, you remove the resistance. Second, get to their core truth and intent. Ask questions rather than make assumptions. If they want to slash the budget and you don't, maybe their core truth is that they're fiscally conservative because of past experience. If you ask enough questions, you can then have a productive conversation. You may discover the other person has issues at home and they think your strategy means more late nights, or that a similar product idea failed at their last company. You may not know their true intent, so find out. You don't have to agree, but you can better understand now where the person's coming from. And you can leverage that information to generate more ideas, which leads me to, when they share, discern, don't judge. Finding common ground means you need to check yourself. Assume good intent. Listen without defensiveness or bias. When you make a judgment, good or bad, it means you might assume a motive that doesn't exist. Discernment takes emotion out of it to find out what's really going on. More like an observational scientist. When they study cells, they don't ask, why on earth are you doing that? They just note the behavior without judgment of right or wrong. Finally, enrich. Don't shut down. Here's a magical 2-word phrase you can use. Yes, and. Yes, but shuts down conversations. There's nowhere to go. In fact, skillful improv actors swear by yes, and to keep a scene going and navigate into a shared story. Enrich each other's ideas. Yes, and opens you up to innovation and a more productive way forward. Remember this, empathy doesn't mean you have to agree. When you strive to find common ground, you listen to what others have to say, ensure they feel heard, and possibly use their input to create even better solutions. But be clear that as the leader, you'll be making the final decision. At least now, they know they were heard and you both understand each other. That goes a long way toward buy-in and loyalty. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Won't most leaders or brands just fake empathy to cash in on all the benefits without doing the real work? Well, they can try. After all, how many times have you seen a company's ad claim that customer service is our number one priority, only to be put on hold for 9 hours when calling customer support? That's what you call an empathy veneer. Sounds good in your marketing, but then, well, you fail to actually deliver on the promise. For empathy, or any brand attribute you seek, to be a reality, you have to walk your talk. Howard Schultz, former chairman and chief executive officer of Starbucks, once said, "Authentic brands don't emerge from marketing cubicles or advertising agencies. They emanate from everything the company does." So your empathy promise doesn't start with your advertising or your pronouncement at the annual meeting. It has to start from the inside out, or you'll quickly be labeled a fraud. Today's brand-savvy customers and engaged top talent can spot fake empathy a mile off, and that's where they'll stay, far away from you and your business. When you fail to deliver on the experience you promise, people notice, and the repercussions can be disastrous. Genuine empathy is what you're after. And to be genuine, to be authentically empathetic, you need to build empathy at 3 important levels. Picture a concentric circle. Empathy starts at the individual level. After all, empathy takes root in the behaviors of one single individual. When individuals build their empathy capacity, that can then ripple out into the next level, internal culture. Now you can create the right environment through process, policy, or rewards, where empathy is rewarded, modeled, and valued. Finally, you're now able to honestly claim an empathetic external brand to the world. By ensuring you're internally acting with empathy, the market can now believe that you're acting with empathy from the inside out. Brand and culture are 2 sides of the same coin. If you want to build an empathetic brand, you need to first support it with an empathetic culture. And a culture is merely how people get work done, how they treat each other, and how they're treated themselves. So the culture ultimately starts with you. Even in the most dysfunctional workplaces, you can have a ripple effect with your own actions as an individual leader. When others see how you operate with empathy and how successful you are as a result, they now see a new model for success. They see what's possible. Now we come to the moment of truth. How empathetic is your organization? We can all think of leaders or brands who let us down with false claims of empathy, compassion, or understanding. So let's get real, be honest, and avoid this mistake, shall we? It's time to put your team through an empathy audit. Find out where you're strong and where you need to strengthen that empathy muscle just a bit more. Ask questions to ensure your organization is acting empathetically at every level, as leaders, as a culture, and as a brand. Focus on the internal truths first. Build your foundation, and then you can move on to the external acts that make empathy visible outside your company walls. To avoid that dreaded empathy veneer and ensure you're operating with genuine empathy, ask yourself 5 questions. The first question: are you all aligned on mission and values? Don't assume here. You need to get everyone together and ask if people know the mission, vision, and values. Why are you all here, and do you know what it means? If your team can't internally articulate this, you can't put it into action. Question 2. What internal policies or practices are in place to foster empathy? Empathy has to be operationalized if you're serious about it. Do you reward empathy and hire and promote based on it? Look at your rituals or policies, like how you run meetings, welcome new hires, or mentor new leaders. Third, are you building a safe and trusting environment? Can your people openly collaborate without feeling like they have to be competitive? Check and see if they have the flexibility to take calculated risks or make tough decisions in the moment without fear of failure. This requires your people to feel psychologically safe in answering truthfully, so maybe you get some unbiased outside help here. If folks are scared to answer this honestly, that alone is a big sign that things are not right. Fourth question: are you hiring right? Look at whether you have the right leaders in place who have both emotional intelligence and business expertise to deliver long-term results. How about the right people in customer service representing the brand? Do you screen for high emotional intelligence? If not, perhaps you should. After all, you get the culture you hire. And finally, number 5, do you implement proactive and flexible customer and employee policies? These policies should be based on trust and offer the benefit of the doubt. Do you assume the best in people with policies that support them? Do you give your employees the opportunity to think in the moment and personalize solutions to best solve problems? Now, I've given you a whole lot to think on. I'd recommend downloading the exercise file now so you can go through these questions on your own. Awareness is half the battle in understanding where you are and where you need to improve. If you're honest with yourself, you can make changes and build that high-performing team and culture that everyone wants to be part of. You made it! How did that empathy workout feel? Just like any new exercise regimen, strengthening your empathy takes time. You don't go to the gym once and instantly get fit. You have to work at it. But take heart. Know that practicing empathy may feel forced and uncomfortable at first, just like going to the gym for the first time in a while. And that's totally okay. Look, even though I researched empathy for years, I still constantly work at it. And sometimes I mess up or don't get it right. But the more you practice, the better you'll get, until soon empathy becomes just how you operate and get great results as a leader. The payoff? You'll collaborate better, innovate more, solve problems, create stronger relationships, and guess what? All those work benefits will spill over into your personal relationships as well. I strongly suggest starting with practicing presence. Getting yourself grounded is the key to seeing other perspectives with a sense of curiosity instead of fear. For more lessons, case studies, and insights from empathetic leaders who are achieving phenomenal success, please check out my book and podcast, The Empathy Edge. And to assess your current level of empathy so you know how far you have to go, please check out tools like the Toronto Empathy Questionnaire or the EQ Quiz. You can also find useful empathy tests and measurements at cultureofempathy.com. And find a coaching partner, or make empathy building a team sport by openly sharing with your team how you're trying to improve. This holds you accountable, encourages real-time feedback, and invites others to improve their skills too. I'd love to hear how your empathy journey is going. Keep in touch with me on LinkedIn or visit my website. Hopefully, this course will help you take actionable steps toward being a more empathetic leader and redefining success. Let's humanize the workplace so we can all do our best work and thrive.